Bumblebee has over 250 species in the world. They are found primarily in higher altitudes or latitudes in the northern hemisphere, although they are also found in few lowland tropical regions. Most bumblebees are social insects that form colonies with a single queen. The colonies are smaller than those of honeybees, growing to as few as 50 individuals in a nest. Bumblebees have round bodies covered in soft hair called pile, making them appear and feel fuzzy. Like their relatives the honeybees, bumblebees feed on nectar, using their long hairy tongues to lap up the liquid. The proboscis is folded under the head during flight. Bumblebees gather nectar to add to the stores in the nest, and pollen to feed their young. They forage using color and spatial relationships to identify flowers to feed from. Today, we're exploring the woods in search of bumblebees. On this sunny day, the Wilderness Pathways team is on a mission to find bumblebees among wild and garden flowers. We're hoping to discover an underground bumblebee nest. The bumblebee is a rare species to spot. While honeybees are easier to track, finding a bumblebee requires patience. We're determined to locate one on our journey today. After several hours of exploring the woods, our team still hasn't managed to find any bumblebees. Despite our patience and careful search, these elusive insects remain out of sight. Now, as the day goes on, we're shifting our focus to the garden blooms. These flowers could be just the place where bumblebees are hiding, and we're hopeful that the bright colors and fragrant blossoms will attract them. It's our next best chance to catch a glimpse of this rare species in action. As we move into the garden blooms, we're still unable to find any signs of bumblebees. Instead, butterflies flutter around the vibrant flowers, adding life to the scene. Unfortunately, luck doesn't seem to be on our side today. Despite our efforts, we haven't spotted even a single bumblebee. The search continues, but it's clear that these elusive insects are not easy to track down in either the woods or the garden. As the day went on with no trace of bumblebees, we were ready to give up on our mission. But at the last moment, one of our teammates announced they'd spotted a bumblebee in the wildflowers. This news reignited our hope. It was like seeing a light in the dark. Filled with excitement, we went running toward the spot, eager to finally catch a glimpse of the rare creature we'd been searching for all day. After waiting eagerly for hours, catching a glimpse of the bumblebee felt like witnessing something truly magical, almost as if seeing an angel with our own eyes. Words can't capture how we felt in that moment. The Wilderness Pathways team has officially become fans of this incredible bee. Its appearance left us in awe. The stunning black and gold color combination was simply mesmerizing. We were truly astonished by its beauty. Just wow. We've completed 70% of our mission. Now, it's time to locate and track Bumblebee's hidden underground base. After tracking Bumblebee, we've found its hidden base. Now, it's time to observe the base camp. There should be no more than 10 to 12 bumblebee workers at the base. Here are some amazing facts about bumblebees. 1. Buzz pollination. Bumblebees are skilled pollinators, using a technique called buzz pollination. They vibrate their wings to release pollen from flowers that need a bit of a shake, like tomatoes and blueberries. 2. Strong flyers. Bumblebees can fly at speeds of about 15 kilometers per hour, 9 miles per hour, and they beat their wings around 130 times per second. 3. Built for cold. Unlike many bees, bumblebees can fly in colder temperatures, even as low as 10 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Their fuzzy bodies help them stay warm, which is why they can be found in northern regions. For short lifespan, bumblebee workers only live a few weeks, while queens can live for a year. Each season, a new queen establishes a nest, while the old one dies off. 5. Tiny brains, big memory. Despite their tiny brains, bumblebees have an impressive memory and can remember the location of the most rewarding flowers. 6. Low numbers. Unlike honeybees, bumblebees have small colonies, typically between 50 to 400 bees. Honeybee hives, by contrast, can house thousands. 7. Important to ecosystems. Bumblebees pollinate plants that are vital for ecosystems and agriculture, making them crucial for food production and biodiversity. 8. Color vision. Bumblebees can see in the UV spectrum, which allows them to detect nectar guides on flowers that aren't visible to human eyes. 9. Unique nests. Bumblebees usually nest underground, in abandoned rodent burrows, or even above ground in grass and leaf litter, depending on the species. 10. Endangered status. Some bumblebee species are now endangered due to habitat loss, pesticides, and climate change. Conservation efforts are essential to protect them. Bumblebees play a crucial role in ecosystems, particularly as pollinators. Here's why they're so important. 1. Pollination powerhouses. Bumblebees are effective pollinators due to their size, strength, and unique technique of buzz pollination, which is critical for certain crops like tomatoes, peppers, and blueberries. This makes them invaluable for food production. 2. Biodiversity support. By pollinating a variety of plants, bumblebees help maintain biodiversity. This allows ecosystems to support a wide range of species, including other insects, animals, and plants, fostering resilient habitats. 3. Food chain links. Bumblebees support the food chain by helping plants produce fruits, seeds, and nuts, which provide food for other species, including birds, small mammals, and even humans. For early season pollinators, bumblebees are active in cooler temperatures and early in the season, pollinating plants that other insects might not reach, ensuring the early flowers that feed other pollinators can reproduce. 5. Soil health. Bumblebee pollination encourages healthy plant growth, which in turn supports soil health. Diverse plants contribute to better soil structure and nutrient cycling, which is essential for sustainable agriculture. 6. Climate resilience. Healthy, bumblebee-supported plant populations can make ecosystems more resilient to climate changes. Plants that can reproduce and spread are better able to survive environmental shifts. 7. Economic value. Bumblebees contribute billions of dollars to agriculture worldwide. By pollinating crops naturally, they reduce the need for artificial pollination methods, benefiting farmers and consumers alike. Without bumblebees, many plants would struggle to reproduce, leading to cascading effects throughout ecosystems. Protecting bumblebees is, therefore, essential for maintaining environmental health and food security. Bumblebees face several threats that have led to declines in their populations. Here are some key reasons why they are in danger. 1. Habitat loss. Urbanization, agriculture, and deforestation have reduced the natural habitats where bumblebees nest and forage. Bumblebees often rely on wildflower-rich areas and meadows, which are increasingly rare due to human development. 2. Pesticide use. Pesticides, particularly neonicotinoids, have been shown to harm bumblebees by affecting their ability to forage, navigate, and reproduce. These chemicals can linger in plants and soil, leading to long-term exposure. 3. Climate change. As temperatures rise and weather patterns shift, bumblebee habitats are altered, making it harder for them to survive. Climate change also affects the timing of flower blooming, disrupting the synchronization between bees and their food sources. For diseases and parasites, bumblebees are vulnerable to various diseases and parasites, some of which are spread from commercially managed bees, like honeybees. Pathogens can weaken or kill bumblebee colonies, especially when they're already stressed by other factors. 5. Loss of food sources. With the decline in wildflower populations and the dominance of single-crop, monoculture, farming, bumblebees often struggle to find a diverse diet. Bumblebees need a range of flowers to provide them with balanced nutrition, which is often lacking in intensively farmed areas. 6. Competition with non-native species. The introduction of non-native bee species for commercial pollination purposes can increase competition for resources and introduce new diseases, putting native bumblebees at a disadvantage. 7. Fragmented populations. As habitats shrink and become isolated, bumblebee populations become fragmented. This leads to reduced genetic diversity and makes it harder for colonies to thrive or adapt to new challenges. Efforts to protect bumblebees include creating bee-friendly habitats, regulating pesticide use, supporting sustainable farming practices, and raising awareness. These actions can help reverse population declines and preserve these essential pollinators. Bumblebees have fascinating habits that help them survive and thrive in various environments. Here are some key aspects of their behavior. 1. Social structure. Bumblebees live in small colonies, typically with a single queen, a few hundred worker bees, and males, drones, during the mating season. Each bee has a role, with workers foraging and defending the nest, while the queen lays eggs. 2. Nest building. Bumblebees often nest underground in abandoned rodent burrows, in thick grass, or in sheltered areas like woodpiles. Unlike honeybees, they don't store large amounts of honey, as their colonies only last one season. 3. Foraging patterns. Bumblebees are generalist foragers, meaning they collect nectar and pollen from a wide variety of flowers. They use their memory to return to the most productive flowers, creating efficient foraging routes, called trap lines. For buzz pollination, bumblebees use a unique technique called buzz pollination, or sonication, where they vibrate their wing muscles to shake pollen loose from flowers. This is especially important for crops like tomatoes and blueberries, which don't release pollen easily. 5. Temperature regulation. Bumblebees are adapted to cool climates and can regulate their body temperature by vibrating their flight muscles. They can even fly in temperatures as low as 10 degrees Celsius 50 degrees Fahrenheit, allowing them to forage early in the day and in colder climates. 6. Early risers and late foragers. Bumblebees start foraging early in the morning and may continue until dusk. Their fuzzy bodies insulate them from cooler temperatures, giving them more flexibility in their activity times. 7. Communication. While bumblebees don't have the complex waggle dance communication system of honeybees, they do release pheromones to mark flowers that they've already visited. This helps other bumblebees from the same colony avoid depleted flowers. 8. Seasonal life cycle. Bumblebee colonies are annual, meaning they only last one season. In the fall, the queen mates and then hibernates alone through the winter. In spring, she emerges to start a new colony, while the previous year's colony dies off. 9. Hibernation. Queens hibernate in soil or under leaf litter through winter, emerging in spring to build a new nest. Unlike honeybees, bumblebees don't overwinter as a colony or store large amounts of honey. 10. Nectar robbing. Some bumblebee species can bypass a flower's entrance and cut directly into the base of the flower to access nectar. This behavior, called nectar robbing, allows them to access nectar quickly, though it doesn't always result in pollination. Bumblebees' habits, especially their foraging and pollination techniques, make them both unique and essential contributors to natural ecosystems. Bumblebee nest building is an intriguing process led by the queen in the spring. Here's how it generally unfolds. 1. Emergence from hibernation. After hibernating through winter, the queen bumblebee awakens in spring, usually around the time that early blooming flowers appear. Her first task is to find food to replenish her energy reserves. 2. Nest site selection. The queen searches for a suitable nesting site, often low to the ground or underground, such as abandoned rodent burrows, tussocks of grass, or crevices in logs and woodpiles. Different bumblebee species have different preferences, with some choosing above-ground sites like dense grass clumps or birdhouses. 3. Preparing the nest. Once she selects a spot, the queen starts arranging the space to create a small, insulated nest. She may gather bits of dry grass, leaves, or moss to line the cavity, helping maintain warmth inside. Bumblebees don't build extensive hives like honeybees, they only need a cozy area for brood cells. 4. Creating brood cells. The queen begins forming wax cells by secreting wax from special glands on her body. She shapes the wax into small pots that she fills with nectar and pollen, which will serve as food for her first larvae. 5. Egg laying and brood care. The queen lays her first batch of eggs in the wax cells, typically around 4 to 8 eggs per cell. She incubates the eggs by warming them with her body heat, generated by vibrating her wing muscles. This warmth helps the larvae develop. 6. Feeding the larvae. After hatching, the queen continues to collect pollen and nectar to feed the growing larvae. She mixes nectar and pollen to create a high-protein bee bread for them. This stage requires intense foraging, so she works tirelessly to supply food for her developing brood. 7. Emergence of first workers. Once the first larvae pupate and emerge as adult worker bees, they take over the foraging and nest maintenance. This allows the queen to focus on laying more eggs, helping the colony grow. 8. Expanding the nest. The workers gradually expand the nest, adding more wax pots for brood, nectar, and pollen storage. Unlike honeybees, bumblebees don't build large, structured hives. Their nests are relatively small, generally housing only 50 to 400 bees by the end of the season. 9. Seasonal cycle. By late summer or early fall, the queen produces new queens and males, which leave the nest to mate. The old queen, workers, and drones will die as winter approaches. Only the newly mated queens will hibernate and survive to start new colonies the following spring. This simple yet effective nest building and nurturing system allows bumblebees to raise new generations each year and is one of the key factors in their success as pollinators. Bumblebees are generally not aggressive and are considered more docile than many other stinging insects like wasps or honeybees. However, they will defend themselves or their nest if they feel threatened. Here's a closer look at their behavior. 1. Non-aggressive nature. Bumblebees are usually quite calm and focused on their work of collecting pollen and nectar. They don't aggressively seek out people or animals to sting, and they rarely sting unless provoked. 2. Defensive behavior. If the nest is disturbed, bumblebees can become defensive. Workers will protect the colony, and they may sting to deter intruders. However, they're typically less aggressive than honeybees when defending their nests. 3. Multiple stings. Unlike honeybees, which lose their stingers and die after stinging, bumblebees have smooth stingers that they can use multiple times. This allows them to defend themselves more effectively if necessary. For warning behaviors, bumblebees often give warning signals before stinging, such as raising their middle legs or buzzing loudly to ward off potential threats. These signals can be enough to let a person or animal know they're getting too close. 5. Female stingers only. Only female bumblebees, queens and workers, have stingers. Males, drones, do not have stingers and, therefore, pose no threat of stinging. 6. Tolerance to humans. Bumblebees are often very tolerant of humans, especially while foraging. You can usually observe them up close as they visit flowers without disturbing them, as long as you move slowly and avoid sudden motions. In general, bumblebees are peaceful and avoid conflict, focusing on their role as pollinators rather than engaging in aggressive behavior. Around the world, various conservation efforts are in place to protect bumblebee populations, recognizing their vital role in ecosystems and agriculture. Here are some notable bumblebee protection activities globally. 1. Habitat restoration. Many conservation programs focus on restoring and preserving bumblebee habitats by creating wildflower meadows and planting pollinator-friendly plants. In the US and Europe, organizations are working to restore grasslands and meadow habitats where bumblebees thrive. 2. Reduced pesticide use. In some regions, restrictions have been placed on harmful pesticides, especially neonicotinoids, which negatively impact bumblebees. The European Union, for instance, has banned certain neonicotinoids for outdoor use to protect pollinators. 3. Protected species status. Some bumblebee species, such as the rusty-patched bumblebee in North America, are now legally protected due to their endangered status. This designation helps secure funding for research and conservation and limits activities that could harm their populations. For pollinator pathways, in urban areas, initiatives like Pollinator Pathways connect green spaces with pollinator-friendly plants, creating corridors that allow bumblebees to forage safely and reduce habitat fragmentation. Programs in the UK, Canada, and the US are developing these pathways to link urban and suburban green spaces. 5. Research and monitoring. Governments and organizations worldwide are investing in bumblebee research to better understand their ecology, behaviors, and threats. Programs like the UK's Bumblebee Conservation Trust conduct annual surveys to monitor populations and provide data-driven recommendations for conservation. 6. Community and citizen science programs. Citizen science initiatives, such as Bumblebee Watch in North America and the Big Bee Count in the UK, encourage the public to report bumblebee sightings. This helps scientists track bumblebee populations and engage people in conservation. 7. Education and awareness campaigns. Raising public awareness about bumblebees and their importance has led to many community-led conservation efforts. Organizations like the Xerces Society in the US and Bee Connected in Australia educate communities on creating bee-friendly spaces, reducing pesticide use, and supporting bumblebee habitats. 8. Conservation policies and funding. Many countries now recognize the need to protect pollinators and are directing funds toward pollinator conservation programs. For example, the European Union's Pollinators Initiative aims to address pollinator decline through policies, habitat protection, and agricultural reforms. 9. Creating bee hotels and safe nesting sites. Bee hotels are a popular conservation method in urban and suburban areas to provide nesting habitats for solitary bee species. While not always for bumblebees, such projects raise awareness and promote biodiversity, which indirectly benefits bumblebees. 10. Climate change adaptation. some conservationists are working to protect bumblebee species that are particularly vulnerable to climate change by identifying climate-resilient habitats and promoting practices that mitigate climate impacts on local ecosystems. Global efforts like these aim to protect bumblebees by restoring habitats, reducing pesticide use, engaging communities, and supporting research, all of which help ensure bumblebee populations continue to thrive and play their essential role in the ecosystem.